What's up, everyone? Welcome to Sean's Movie Corner. I just saw Kinds of Kindness, and I'm going to tell you what I thought about it
You
right
must
now.
put on a few pounds. I told you that last time.
But I have.
Skinny men are the most ridiculous thing there is.
Kinds of Kindness is Yorgos Lanthimos' newest film. That's right, the Greek Freak is back after a mere 6-month hiatus since his Poor Things Oscar run. This time it's an anthology movie, meaning it's 3 different stories stitched together. The first story follows a man who is dependent on another man to tell him what to do, and it shows what happens when he doesn't have this dependency anymore. The second story is about a man whose wife goes missing at sea, and when she comes back, the man suspects that it's not actually his wife who returned. And the third one is about a cult who are looking for a particular figure, and they anoint 2 of their members to go out and find this figure. Each story reuses the same 6 actors, so you have Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and Willem Dafoe as kind of the core trio who take the leads in each of the stories, but then they're filled out by a surrounding cast of Mahmoud Al-Athi, Margaret Qualley, and Hong Chow. The inherent struggle for any anthology film is finding a way to make the movie feel like it's building to something even when your segments are stopping and starting every 45 to 50 minutes. Kinds of Kindness doesn't necessarily get around this obstacle. In fact, as I was leaving the theater, I heard 2 guys kind of confused saying like, oh, the story doesn't really go anywhere. However, Lanthimos does find a strategic way to build momentum even across both of the breaks in the middle of this movie. The first story begins very mild, actually. Some of the trademarks of Lanthimos are still present. There's the monotone delivery of lines and a few quirky cutaways, but it plays out pretty straightforward. If I didn't know I was going into a Lanthimos movie, you maybe could have even tricked me into thinking it was directed by someone else. However, the first story ends with almost a literal bang, which I felt served as almost like a warning shot of buckle in because we are in fact playing in Yorgos' sandbox, and things can get very odd very fast. As you begin the second story, the tone has been set, and it slowly kind of submerges you into a world that is airy, bizarre, and mysterious. It turns into a pseudo-thriller of sorts, which I thought was a great way to build off of what was a mic drop of an ending of the first story. You take that energy that the first one ended with, and you use it to propel the audience into a world that felt to me almost Twilight Zone-esque. As the third story begins, it feels like the movie loses its momentum a bit. It doesn't have a particularly strong hook, and the story feels like it has to set up a few too many things, making it drag. I think the last act is the one that could have worked just as well, if not better, as a full-length movie. Elements such as the lore of the organization that Emma Stone belongs to, the emotional connection she has, and the journey to accomplish what she needs to do all feel like they could have easily have occupied a 2 to 2.5 hour runtime. The things we do see of what seems like a broader story are some of the finest things about Kinds of Kindness as a whole. The score in particular is really unsettling. He uses a creepy and almost satanic-like chant that plays over some of the more stressful scenes, and it just makes you so uncomfortable. Lanthimos has done this before. I'm thinking specifically of The Lobster, where you have a piano cue that is repeated throughout several of the scenes. It's hard to call it a score, they're more like sound effects, but they're effective either way. I know it sounds like a contradiction to say that it's the weakest segment while also applauding the individual elements of it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the execution is there, it's just the nature of the story is too robust to serve as the bookend to the previous 2 stories of this movie. And I think this is the main reason I walked out of Kinds of Kindness sort of conflicted. But the more I've thought about it, and the more I try to evaluate it on each story's strengths, I'm slowly loving this movie more and more. As I try to pinpoint really what is making this movie stick with me so much, I think it's due to how well the movie manages its shock factor. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of lulls in the movie that relax you and kind of make you forget the nature of the story you're watching. And it makes the shocking moments, whether they're funny or horrific, all the more sudden and impactful. By implementing them in small dosages, Yorgos proves that the absurd is most effective in moderation. The scenes I keep thinking back on are the ones that caught me off guard and leaned into the bizarreness of the world. And oh my gosh, I didn't even mention the Emma Stone dance scene, which I think is maybe the best way to sum up why I love this movie, why as I keep thinking about it, it keeps getting better. It just, the way it comes into the movie is perfect. The trailers don't do it justice, so if there's no other reason you buy a ticket to see this movie, do it for the Emma Stone dance scene. The fact that we've gotten 2 iconic Emma Stone dance scenes in less than a year is just another reason to love Mr. Lanthimos' twisted mind. Yorgos, you crazy bastard, please never stop making movies. I can't promise I'm always gonna love every one of them, but the creativity and depth of his filmmaking is one of the most exciting things in Hollywood right now. I'm gonna give Kinds of Kindness a 4 out of 5 stars, and that's likely to go up with time. It's a movie that's begging a rewatch from me right now, so I would recommend it. Know who you are. If you're not a fan of his previous movies, obviously don't go see it, but I really enjoyed it. Anyways, thanks for watching my review of Kinds of Kindness. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I hope to see you next time.